So the other thing to clear up is that for everybody that said, oh my God, Triple H needs to run Smackdown, Vince ran this show.
Yeah, I mean, but it was Paul Levesque's ideas. I mean, but Vince, it was absolutely Vince's show. I mean, look, if nothing else, it's that at least for one show, and everyone's got one great show in him. And this is not a knock on Paul Levesque because he did a great job. And I think, by and large, when it comes to NXT, he's done a great job. I mean, I look at the television, the way the television builds the angles, the execution on the shows, really most everything about NXT, as far as a fan goes, when I'm watching it, it's, some of the talent is developmental talent, and they're not as good in their green and all that. But I mean, as far as the booking aspect of it, I think it's very logical, good booking, which I would not say about the main roster. But then again, if he was booking the main roster, it would probably be different from NXT, because I think he knows that, there's differences there's just differences. I mean, he knows that there's this audience that he's catering to in NXT. And I mean, the other thing too is NXT business was way down. I mean, in the last quarter, it was down significantly. So it's not like, but I mean, there's all kinds of different reasons and circumstances and things like that. I think it's going to be really, really hard to, I just think it's going to be really hard to get people to go to live events with this much TV. I think it's going to be hard for the TV to keep up. I mean, the one thing that we did get, with they did over 2.5 million viewers. They were actually up from 2 weeks ago. Whether, whatever the reason is, whatever it is, we can safely throw out that show last week. I don't know the explanation. I mean, the explanation can't be good, but the reality is that they did a nice number. I mean, and it started big. Maybe there's some curiosity over how WWE was going to handle this. It was not the idea that it was a great show, because they'd lost viewers as the show went on, even though it was a great show. Whereas the week before, they gained the previous 2 weeks, they gained viewers both weeks, even though the show I didn't think was nearly as good or compelling. I mean, perhaps it was a little bit of a boost because it was the day after a pay-per-view, and it was a pay-per-view with some big names. But whatever it is, I mean, even if it wasn't the day after pay-per-view, and let's say it went down a little bit, the fact is that, that 888,000 was not representative of anything. It doesn't make sense, but it's not anything to worry about either, because they bounced back at a higher number.
And obviously the big question is going to be how the NXT show does on Wednesday after getting all of this publicity on Fox.
I mean, so here's the thing. Do you send SmackDown guys to NXT on Wednesday as retribution? I mean, I guess you can't, because they're going to Europe. So you actually can't do that now.
Well, I mean, if they're doing NXT versus Raw versus SmackDown, I mean, they did a brand split right when they're about to just have everybody be on every show.
Not necessarily on every show, but on the...
I mean, I would figure that if nothing would have happened in Saudi Arabia, that at some point over the next 3 weeks, there would have been NXT guys on Raw or SmackDown.
I don't know if that's the case, although I think they were going to actually use the NXT guys to build up their own stuff on NXT. But if it's NXT versus Raw versus SmackDown, yes.
I mean, you'd think you'd have to introduce NXT to your USA and Fox audience.
I will ask that question, but I was certainly not given that impression. Well, here's the thing. They would have, let me see. They would have, like, the last week they could have done it, because it was not planned for this week on either show to do anything like this. I mean, obviously it wasn't planned because the NXT guys didn't even arrive. The NXT guys didn't even arrive till 5 minutes before the show started, 7:55 p.m. And if, luckily they had Lesnar to go first to get them, ready and everything. I think Shane was the first one that had to run out, but I mean, that was a quick turnaround too. So they almost didn't, and that would have been a complete disaster if they weren't there. They would have had Paul go out there and do a 2-hour promo, but, and Miz. So Paul could have done like an hour and Miz could have done an hour, but they were going to get there eventually. But yeah, I don't know that last week they weren't going to be there, but next week, all the TV is from Europe, and they weren't going, the NXT people weren't, none of them were scheduled for Europe. So there was nothing scheduled for this week or next week. I mean, the final week, I suppose it's possible that they might have done something, but I don't know that.
If you missed the Smackdown show, the NXT guys invaded. We had Tommaso Ciampa beating The Miz, Rhea Ripley and Tegan Nox beat Fire and Desire, and Adam Cole beat Daniel Bryan in a fabulous main event.
It was like watching, Daniel Bryan was absolutely fantastic in that match. I mean, it was like, this was the Bryan Danielson that I remember from years ago, who's really one of the greatest wrestlers I've ever seen. He was like, watching him, he was like a legitimate artist out there. He was so great in that match. He put him over clean with his move. I mean, all of the SmackDown guys that were there, and women, I mean, that's the one thing. They did have all the women because the women weren't, didn't go. I can't say weren't allowed, because the fact is that going forward, they will in fact be allowed. That was part of the deal. But they put him over in every single segment. And, Ciampa won with his move on The Miz. Adam Cole won an NXT title match with, the last shot. It was just a clean win. And, it was amazing that they did that, because let's face it, every time they've done an invasion angle before, if they would have done this, the angle probably would have had great legs, and they never did. And it was basic stuff to do. And here they did it. But a lot of that's also because, it was Paul Levesque was the guy who saved the show as far as the ideas went. They were his ideas, and he pushed to have his guys go over, and Vince accepted those. Vince didn't say, no, we can't do it. They're, you know what I mean? I think the whole thing is like, and I think from, again, when you're backed into that corner, one of the things is like, let's face it, one of the things that they don't like is that they're losing on Wednesdays. And I don't think that anyone would have even come up with this type of an idea to do this, because you're backward against the wall and you're trying to start new angles for your shows within the parameters of what you were doing before. That was the whole idea of what everything was going to be. But because they were backed into it, okay, now we got to bring the NXT guys in, and we've got, Sami Zayn's here because he wasn't allowed to go. Miz is here for whatever reason. He didn't go. And of course, Daniel Bryan refused to go. And so, as far as like going in there and doing that, the one thing is like, if we do this, it will give these guys exposure. It will make, Riddle and these guys into someone that people have seen. And that should really help on Wednesday. I mean, it wouldn't shock me for them, for NXT to win on Wednesday. Not at all. And I would have told you before this that there was not a chance in hell that would have happened this week. I mean, could it have happened in a couple of months? Who knows? Who knows what would happen in a couple of months? But as far as, it wasn't going to happen anytime soon. And it could happen Wednesday. Whether it would stay, who knows? The Wednesday wars, I think, I believe that the whole Wednesday situation is changed because of this. So that's, and the Wednesday thing was, it was kind of an embarrassment to the company in a lot of ways. I mean, they went in there, picked that fight, ended up losing every week, losing bad in the key demos. So.
When I was watching the show on Friday, I was thinking about Wednesday and how much this may or may not help. And
I think it's going to help.
I think it's going to help, but then I was thinking about when they moved this show to FS1, like, they got 888,000 viewers.
Yes.
Like, I don't know what the loyalty is, those SmackDown viewers, to tune into NXT on Wednesday night.
It's not going to be 2 million. But I mean, the thing is, it's like USA Network is something that every single wrestling fan knows how to get. I mean, the idea that they couldn't figure out how to get FS1, it does boggle my mind, but it did happen too. But USA Network, that's not the same thing. They're used to USA Network. And again, it only takes takes, like, let's say 200,000, if you can swing 200,000 new viewers, I mean, I know that they only got whatever it was 580, but they're going to get 7, and more than that. Because those numbers were all against playoff baseball, so they're going to get 750. You get 200 more, you're at 950 all of a sudden. That's all right. I mean, that, and maybe it'll be more. The Wednesday numbers are going to be interesting again.
All right, so anything else from Saudi Arabia, Smackdown, WWE?
No, nothing else that I can think of off the top of my head. Just, real good show. Great Daniel Bryan match.
Smackdown from Manchester, England, Dave.
It was a show. I mean, they changed the tag team title. They did a little bit of a NXT run-in with Shayna Baszler was there. Imperium was there. So, they tried to establish Baron Corbin as the lead heel. I think we've been through this before, just on the other brand. So they're going to do Roman Reigns Baron Corbin program. Feels like the Roman Reigns Eric Rowan program, except it's a new guy in the spot. And Baron Corbin got the worst material, I think, of the year when it comes to that first promo. Oh my God. I thought his delivery was good, but man, what terrible material.
Not only terrible material, but it felt like he had about 5 minutes worth of stuff that he had to stretch to about 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's usually the MO, but yeah, definitely. Whoever wrote that, clearly was writing for Vince McMahon and not the audience.
Yeah,
obviously that's what their job is to do, but, it was kind of like an exaggerated version of that.
I mean, he started out getting applause for Roman by talking about his battle with leukemia, listed off all of Roman's career championships and accomplishments, and seriously, who remembers all of those?
Yeah, well, main evented for WrestleMania. All that, whenever they do those interviews where they do all these facts, it's kind of like, I always feel they feel so fake, because nobody talks like that in real life. I also thought, when they talked about, whoever comes back from leukemia in less than a year, and it's like, as soon as he said that, it's like, man, I was studying that very disease, and the disease that he has, it's people have come back. Hockey players have come back in a week or two from that. Baseball players have come back quick. His recovery time was not unusual at all for that. In fact, when I was writing about it when he first got it, when we were going through there's like 4 major forms of leukemia, and the one that he has, which is CML, is the one that was most likely based on his, between his age and the fact that he had it before and everything, and he's going to battle it the rest of his life, or it could come back at any time. But as far as the recovery goes, his recovery, when he came back, it was not like remarkably fast. It was what was pretty much, when I was talking to doctors at the time, if that's what he had, which was the assumption, that was pretty much what the recovery was. And people have come back a lot quicker too in real sports. So, it's whatever, it's just I don't know. That's a minor part of the thing, but
it felt like the major part of it was Corey Graves and Michael Cole talking about the term locker room leader. And it felt like they said that a lot, and how Roman used to be a leader and used to care, but now he's too focused on things like family. And it was just odd. Like, why would fans care if he's a locker room leader?
I don't know. They've had a weird week. So I think that term is part of their, it's been used by a lot of people in the last week, but whatever. They said that he wasn't there because of charity work, which was a way so Corbin could do his whole promo without interruption, and then Reigns could come in later and they could set up that match. I wish that the promo was interrupted, because it did go too long, and it was. But I guess that's part of the whole deal.
Yeah, he did some stupid thing where he brought up Roman's dog graphic from the Titantron, and the dog was like yipping in this high voice for way too long. Oh, gosh.
That was brutal.
Went on for days, and then he made some reference about dog poop bags and held up these.
Yeah, well, that's Vince. That's Vince's humor. But yeah, that was brutal. Yeah, I mean, it was a really. When I was watching, it's like, this is really bad stuff. But he's doing his best with it. I'm going like he got heat. I mean, I can't knock his performance at all, but it was like, man, the writing was just brutal in that segment.
I can only imagine what it's like to be in his position and they hand you that script for the first time. You get to read what you have to say on television for the first time. That's got to be very eye-opening sometimes.
It depends on the guy. I mean, if you're someone who's like really focused and you have an idea of your character and you have an idea of you're wrestling, yeah, I think that would really do a number on you. But if you're someone who's just kind of like going through, you're just going through. You know what I mean? It just depends on how seriously you take your business and your character. And, most of the top people take their stuff pretty seriously. And if it is bad material, they probably, probably aren't happy, but they still do it. It's kind of like there's very few people who are going to just go in there and fight it. I mean, there's a few, but most wouldn't. And that's why we get the product that we get, because most wouldn't, because they're walking on eggshells. It's been said by a million different people that's the situation there.
So Corbin announced that was the main event, he versus Roman, so that set everything up. We got a quick interview with the New Day, saying they were going for their 7th title reign, and Big E made the point of saying more reigns than Charlotte Flair. That's the goal.
No. They were embarrassed because Charlotte Flair is ahead of them. I think she's got like 10, and they were like, they were more making a joke about how Charlotte Flair has so many title reigns.
So that was sort of their tongue-in-cheek goal.
Yeah, which is the whole thing, because the whole thing is to get Charlotte Flair to 16, because of that being the mythical number that Rick has. For whatever reason, that's just the goal, so she's got to do a lot of championship wins.
So the New Day defeated the Revival to win the tag team titles. Kofi pinned Dawson with the Trouble in Paradise. So Survivor Series, it's now the Viking Raiders, Undisputed Era, and New Day. You think the thought is that they just wanted some more star power to the match?
I think, this is what I think, and I haven't asked because I didn't know about this title change ahead of time. I think that they wanted to kind of get Kofi Kingston set up in this tag team so people wouldn't be asking questions about Kofi Kingston not being in the mix for the singles title. And again, just getting this, with Xavier Woods out, getting the New Day kind of up and running, and getting Kofi Kingston up and running, but in a different direction than he was in before when he was a singles guy. So I think that was pretty much it.
Well, they did reference how Kofi was back and probably had confidence now because he'd won a world title, as if those titles are the same as a singles title. But yeah, you're probably right in that.
I mean, I think it's like a way, because people would go like, well, okay, how come he's not getting a rematch, for the championship? How come he's not in that top program? And you're putting him in a tag team program, since some people will consider that a demotion. And it is, which is why some people would consider it that. And so, yeah, I think that's pretty much the deal, is just get the championship on them. And that way people won't go, oh, they treated Kofi all wrong, because a lot of people were saying that, it's like they were going to beat him. And they just wanted it over with as quick as possible and got it on Lesnar in the most dynamic way possible.
Still, I mean, you could create enough desire from fans where maybe it could propel Kofi to an even better title run next time.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible if the crowd wills it and they have to do it, but it was never their idea. And when it's not their idea, and with him, I think that was one of those things where, okay, it's not our idea, but if we take it too quick, people are going to get mad. So they went, as long as they were going to go, which was until they got on Fox. As soon as they got on Fox, they made the move to get it off him. I was pretty sure that going on Fox, that's why I kept thinking they were going to put it on Randy Orton. But, obviously Lesnar being a bigger deal and then doing that switch and everything was the idea. But I just never saw them believing in Kingston in that spot when they went to Fox. But they could do it for as long as they did it because, number one, it was a lame duck show on USA anyway. And also, they could have done, they could have moved it at SummerSlam, like I kind of thought they would. But there, when the idea is Brock, it made more sense to do it the way they did.
Roman Reigns arrives at the arena. Shorty G tells Reigns about King Corbin's comments. And then
don't you think that made Shorty G look really bad?
Nobody likes a snitch, Dave. Nobody likes a snitch.
Nobody likes a snitch, especially with the gimmick they're giving him, which is already like not a good one.
Yeah, I did like his gear a little bit better, but that's all relative.
I guess a little bit. I hate his gear. Oh, it's just like if they just make him look like a, you know what I mean, like a 14-year-old.
I'm really torn because on one hand, I know that this is probably his shot to make it, and he probably knows that, and I'm sure he's really trying. And on the other hand, it's just so bad. So I kind of got two different emotions when it comes to Shorty G.
Yeah, it's the best shot he's got so far because Vince loves the character and everything. But it, for the fans, it's not the best shot. But for Vince, it's the best shot. Yeah.
Backstage, Sami Zayn approached Daniel Bryan. He noted that he asked Bryan to join him and Nakamura. He claimed that Bryan could have won the NXT Championship last week if only Sami was in his corner. And then he pointed out that Cesaro and Nakamura are going to take on Ali and Shorty G later on, and he wants Bryan to watch closely.
Mm-hmm.
Just development. Heavy Machinery came to the ring. We never saw their opponents because suddenly Imperium rushed them and attacked them.
Yeah, so the one thing I say for Manchester is that it felt like the NXT angle was still over because like they were loud NXT chants, not so much during this, but at the beginning of the show when it was brought up, when Corbin did it in his promo and everything. So it is a hot angle. I mean, obviously we'll talk about that later, but it is a hot angle. And it's funny because at the house shows, Walter and Jordan Devlin had a match. So this would have been on Thursday. Was it in Brighton, I think? Was it Walter and Jordan Devlin? I know that. Let me just see. Hold on. If I can have my notes from. No, they're doing that later. They're doing that in some of the shows later. But a lot of the times when they have when Pete Dunne was champion and he would work the UK shows. At the house shows, the people who go to the house shows had no idea who Pete Dunne was. But at TVs, I think it's a different audience. But they were really big into NXT.
I really liked the interview with Bayley and Sasha Banks talking about Shayna Baszler jumping him last week. And then Bayley pointed out that it was Bayley and Banks that put the NXT women's division on the map. I really kind of liked that payback in history.
Yeah, they kind of did. I mean, it was a lot of people that did. I mean, you could almost go to Paige and to Neil Dashwood, to a degree, and Charlotte and Natalya, which was a big match. But the biggest, I don't think there's any argument. The best women's matches in NXT history would be Bayley and Sasha Banks, and then matches with Asuka. So especially the Bayley Banks match in Brooklyn. So yeah, they certainly can say that. Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it as heels. I thought it was a really good promo. Next up, Nakamura and Cesaro defeated Ali and Shorty G. I thought this match was better than I expected. Obviously, all four very talented, but they were kind of given some leeway as far as what they could do. I liked this match more than I expected.
I thought it was about what I would figure from the four. They didn't have a lot of time. There was some good stuff. I mean, but they're all four of them great. So yeah, I mean, I expected it when I saw that. I expected a really strong match. I mean, Nakamura hasn't been so great in WWE, but when he's in there with good people, he'll usually step it up. And Chad Gable's great, and Ali's great, and Cesaro is really talented. I mean, his timing is great. He's You can always count on him. If he's in a position where he's supposed to deliver, he always will. So, yeah, I was about what I figured.
Daniel Bryan pensively looking on from the stage, and by the time the match is over, rather than going down to see the heels, he leaves.
Mm-hmm.
Sasha Banks' new remixed version of her theme song featuring her cousin Snoop Dogg. I liked her new gear. I liked the new song.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll take time for me to get into the song. It was fine. Gears, it looks sort of similar to me.
Nikki Cross is she
Nikki
crazy
Cross
again? Because for a while she was just smiley, and now she's nuts again.
Yeah, she was back to doing that. I thought that the first part before the commercial was pretty bad.
Oh boy, that head scissor takeover.
Yeah, it was 3 or 4 things where I don't know if Sasha Banks had ring rust or they just didn't work well together. The people didn't really care about it being bad because Sasha Banks is still she's pretty popular, and Nikki Cross is going to be in the UK is more popular than she's going to be. So they kind of take to her more. So by the end of the match, the crowd was pretty into it. I mean, not super into it, but they were definitely into it more than most matches. So it turned out okay. But there were a couple points in there where it was just, it was bad. Yeah, that's all I could say.
Banks hit the backstabber into the Banks statement for the win. Bayley attacked Cross after the match, and then suddenly Shayna Baszler ran out and attacked Bayley.
Yep.
I really feel like Shayna Baszler's kind of a key person in all of this invasion, and she's done a great job. I feel like she's really stepped up.
Well, they put her over strong. She's really good on camera. Her face, her eyes and everything. When I see her on camera, it's like she's, just like Ronda in a lot of ways. They, so many people when they come from MMA into pro wrestling, their mentality is I'm doing fake pro wrestling. And Shayna is the exact opposite. Her mentality is she's doing real pro wrestling. And that's probably there's a lot of reasons for it. Billy Robinson and Josh Barnett are probably 2 of them, because she was trained by Billy Robinson. And it's funny because she was trained for shooting by Billy Robinson, but she would listen and hear his pro wrestling stories. Like, she knows about Billy Robinson, and she's got that kind of a Billy Robinson, Josh Barnett in pro wrestling shooter mentality, which is good because without it, she wouldn't have anything, honestly. That's her deal. And so when she's in there, it's not I'm playing fake pro wrestling. It's like I'm doing real pro wrestling. It's like I'm not going to do a bunch of acrobatics. I'm going to do stuff that really, if it was real, hurts, and I'm going to act like it's real, and I'm not doing any clown stuff. And I'm very, very serious at it. And when you watch it, I think that comes across. I mean, some people don't like that because it's not the pro wrestling that they understand. But without that, and I mean, because some people will knock her because she doesn't, crisscross the ropes and she doesn't do missile drop kicks. But if she did, she would probably just be, you know what I mean? It doesn't fit what her thing is. It doesn't fit her. She is great for being Shayna Baszler.
I'm really impressed. She does more than just come to the ring and scowl, and I think she's done a great job. Probably a lot of pressure, and this could really lead to some great things. If it leads to something for anybody, it could be Shayna Baszler.
Well, what I could say is that she is earmarked in 2020. And again, because of NXT going on USA, everything's out the window. But before NXT was on USA, she was being groomed for the main roster and to be a star on the main roster. They thought very, very highly of her. And I'm sure they still think obviously they think highly of her because she's had the women's championship in NXT for a long time. But she absolutely, there was absolutely plans for her on the main roster that were significant. And unless the idea is we're not going to bring her up because we're not going to do that with the top NXT people anymore, which would be kind of too bad unless they actually start paying them the way they pay main roster. If she were to stay in NXT and they pay her like a main roster top star, then that's cool, because her window of opportunity to make money at this is, she's 38 years old, and she's got, she's had a lot of injuries from fighting and everything like this. So it's like, I'd like to see her at least be able to make good money. And in NXT, the way it's structured right now, she would not be making good money. They could always give her a raise. I've said that about a bunch of people who haven't gotten raises yet. And a lot of people thought that they would, now that there's a lot more money coming in, but that's a different issue. But yeah, I would, we'll see what happens with her. But yeah, she's been good. She's been good at this. Absolutely.
Back in the back, Sami Zayn telling Daniel Bryan to forget about the Yes movement and join them. Suddenly the lights go out, the red light comes on, and the Fiend attacks Daniel Bryan from behind.
Yeah, lays him out and Sami Zayn runs away. So I guess as far as Daniel Bryan joining Nakamura and Sami Zayn, he probably shouldn't have run away, right?
Not a good sign for if your manager that's pitching to you runs away, yeah.
Yeah. And it's a way to get the Fiend over, who obviously, look, he's the champion, so maybe he'll work with Daniel Bryan. If anyone can get a good match out of him, if anyone, I think that is safe to say. If anyone can, Daniel Bryan can. And if he can't, it's not going to be easy for anyone. And you know what? I'll tell you what, it's going to be a challenge because Seth Rollins is really good. And Seth Rollins is not, he's had, 2 matches with him, and the first was terrible, and the second was at best average. So that makes me feel that it's a pretty tough deal. And with that red tint, that's just a killer anyway. I don't know why it's a killer and they still do it anyway. It is the craziest thing.
Yeah, that light comes on. It looks like they're wrestling in the back of like a Spencer's Gifts. It's just, I don't know what it's supposed to be. It's terrible.
But you can't, I've heard in the building it's terrible. Okay, so that's not good. But on television, I know, and it's terrible. It's like you don't get into the match. No matter what they do, no matter how hard they work, you don't get into the match. And it's like, that's enough to say. I would think one match with it, you would go, okay, it didn't work. But it's like, it's like, how many times do they have to do it where it doesn't work before you figure out it doesn't work? It should only take one match. It's an experiment. Look, you always try things, and I'm all for new ideas. But if the new idea doesn't work, you don't just keep doing it. But, they did.
Next up was the Tyson Fury segment with Braun Strowman. They did a video recap before, and I thought it was telling that the entire video recap, I believe exclusively, was just Strowman on offense. They even had a quote about how strong and great Strowman was. So they really have tried to reposition the way that match worked. Tyson Fury came out, hometown, seemed like he got a good pop. Strowman made his way down to the ring. Fury thanked Strowman for the match. They shook hands and then noted that if they ever fought again, it should be as a tag team. In a very scripted way, this all played out. Strowman liked the idea, the fans, and he said there's nobody stupid enough to face the two of them. And the B team came out, and they said, no, they were stupid enough to
Curtis
accept
Axel
it.
said that we're stupid enough, and then Bo Dallas said he didn't mean it like that. So that was cute. They got destroyed, exactly like you would expect. Fury's all right with this. I guess he's probably going to come back because they certainly teased the idea of it.
Yeah, do you is he big enough? It didn't really feel like it generated that much buzz.
It didn't. It should, considering but it was also the Saudi Arabia show, so it's not really fair to judge. Because once you're on that show, it's just a unique, weird situation. He's got this fight with Wilder. I don't think he's going to do anything until after that fight. And we'll see what happens there. And what his schedule is. That's his main thing is going to be his boxing, obviously. And Wilder, that's the biggest fight of his career. So, I don't know. I saw the first one, and he was... he was winning most of the fight, but Wilder has great power and put him down. So nearly finished him. So it's a interesting rematch for sure. I mean, if it goes to, I think points wise, he's a better boxer for sure than Wilder, but Wilder hits so much harder.
Carmella and Dana Brooke defeated Fire and Desire, with Carmella and Dana now joining team captain. They made a point of saying this. Team captain Sasha Banks and Team Smackdown at the Survivor Series.
Yeah, so they pretty much, so it looks like they're going to be like, have a Raw, I mean, a men and a women's Raw versus SmackDown. They didn't say 8-man tag. I mean, it usually is. So I guess I'll ask about that.
Are all the matches, including NXT, in the matches, or just the ones we've seen? Like, will this women's match have an NXT side in it too? They said
Raw versus SmackDown. They said that distinctly. Yeah. So I don't think there's going to be a SmackDown team. I mean, an NXT team. But I'll ask. But they didn't. They specifically didn't say NXT on that one.
Is Survivor Series primarily just a lot of three-way matches, depending on individuals or teams? Have I missed that?
Okay, so there's going to be the main title. There's not going to be a three-way. I don't know. I mean, because Lesnar's against Mysterio, so I don't know where Adam Cole fits in on the show. Yeah, I don't know where. I mean, he's been on TV enough to where I would think he would be on the show. There's going to be a secondary title three-way, so that's Roderick Strong and Nakamura and AJ. Although those participants may change, just like the New Day one, and change the tag team. They got the tag team, and then they got the three-way women's. So and I don't anticipate the women's match changing. I mean, it could too, but I don't feel that. So Baszler will be in there with Becky Lynch, which is interesting. I mean, that's and Bayley. So like, I could see any one of those three winning that. I mean, I could see arguments I could see an argument for Baszler in this one. Actually, I think Baszler would be the right one to win too. It doesn't mean they'll do it though.
Do you have any indication of how long the NXT invasion will last past Survivor Series?
No, because it was not even really supposed to happen. I mean, they were, the whole idea was that, they did it because they had no choice, and then it got over so big that they had no choice but to follow up. So as far as how long it goes, I don't know. My feeling would be is as long as it's boosting ratings, because for the NXT brand, I mean, it's really strong for the NXT brand, to get those guys on the show, and it focuses more on them. And, it took, they were losing handily every Wednesday. And obviously this week was very close, and next week they could win because, it's a hot angle, and their stars got more exposure on higher rated shows.
Main event, King Corbin defeats Roman Reigns with the end of days after interference that had been going on pretty much all match from Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode.
Right. So I got to figure, I don't know, because Roman Reigns isn't figured into this. So Ziggler and Roode are going to be with Corbin in some form, it looks like. Roman Reigns, I guess they could bring the Usos back for this, perhaps. Something like that, because they're ready to come back. So maybe that's what this is.
Hey, well, speaking of no sense, we got to talk about this SmackDown show. But first, how did it do in the ratings?
Let's see. So the overnight's have it at 2,350,000, so it's down, significantly from last week, and it tied for first in the demo. But the show that it tied with, which was Hawaii 5-0, did like over 7 million viewers. So it's like a big difference. But, so it's the lowest so far. I'm not too, again, when it comes to ratings, the one thing is that you don't want to get too up or too down over 1 week, because we've already seen that that's kind of flawed. I mean, it's not a good number, but if next week bounces back, then it really didn't mean anything. But it wasn't a good number for sure. It's the lowest to date. It's not scary bad. It's probably about where I would have expected it to be at this point. The problem is does it continue to decline? And I mean, put it this way. Watching this show, I thought, when it was over, my thought was, it's going to continue to decline. I mean, one thing, the second hour did very weak. And one of the things is that, let's face it, when your big thing that you're advertising in hour 2 is Miz TV with Daniel Bryan and no main event match, that's going to happen. I mean, they had nothing in hour 2. I mean, they actually had some good matches on the show. I thought that the Shorty G match with Shorty G Mustafa Ali against Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler match, I thought that match was great. New Day and Revival is always good. Bad, no finish, but
why did Revival get an automatic title shot?
Fuck if I know.
I thought the rule was there were no more automatic rematches.
No. That rule's out the window. We don't.
Oh, it is?
We don't even have those rules no more.
Wow.
No, that rule's out.
I don't remember them rescinding that rule. You rescinded that rule right there.
I just did.
They never did.
No, it's one of those secret rules, like the number of saves you're allowed in a tag team match. It's like
that's not a proper defense.
There is no defense. They changed it. It's like every wrestling company. They come up with a rule for a time, and then they just forget. And that's what we got here. And although Kofi Kingston never did get a shot at Brock.
Well, yeah. We got no automatic rematches. Till this week.
No, we've had them before. We've had plenty of them. But this is one of them. And whatever. They needed a title. They needed a title match on TV, and the Revival's the best team to go against the New Day. They weren't going to give you a finish because it was, they wanted to set up the Undisputed Era run-in, and there you go. Now, listen. Who cares? The Undisputed Era run-in wasn't the worst thing, but the women's thing.
You know what? Actually, hold on a second.
What,
Undisputed Era runs in, and they're run off by every geek on the roster and not one main eventer.
Yeah, I know, you're right. Because I know when those guys, it was way more guys. So I thought that was okay. But
yeah, it was
right.
24/7 guys.
You
don't think anybody noticed that only the lowest of the low card guys come out to run off the NXT guys?
Freaking Apollo Crews and Heath Slater. Yep, I know.
Then that women's thing, I'm like,
the women's thing is the one.
Dude, who's the babyface? Who's the heel? We're switching in the middle of it. All of these storylines in NXT are just thrown out the window to put this match together here.
And not just NXT, SmackDown too. You have freaking Nikki Cross. I mean, you have Nikki Cross with Sasha Banks with Carmella. You know what I mean? It's like what? It's now we're all we're all teams. And
dude, all I know is I watch every single one of these shows against my will. I might add. I watch every single one of these shows, and I'm watching this show, and I just have no idea what's going on. I'm just baffled. There are these Survivor Series teams, and I don't know why this person's on the team, and why this person's fighting for this person's spot, and who put this person on this team, and it's what is going on here in War Games? This person hates this person on NXT, but they're friends on SmackDown. And then Sasha's a babyface in the middle of the match, but then she's a heel. I'm like, this is just the most convoluted build to both of these shows.
No shit.
And I guess we're supposed to be excited about it because it's brand versus brand versus brand. But I mean, we're coming off a wild card a month ago. I don't know. It's a mess. This is a complete mess. And we didn't even talk about the mascot.
Okay. It is. No, look. The booking is really bad right now. It's really freaking bad. Again, because they're trying to do, an NXT show while at the same time, building up this NXT teams that are feuding with each other but solid as far as the very next day. And, unless you're super into this, it's which is the two War Games and which is the elimination match?
Dude, the more into it you are, the more confusing it is.
It's ridiculous, and it's it used to be where you would do these teams and they would hammer it so good that, like, just off the top of your head. I mean, I remember, like, during Survivor Series, I could name you every match off the top of my head with no problem. Okay. Everyone on every team. But, you know, and it'd be maybe 4 matches. Okay. But here we got the War Games, 2 War Games, not one. We got 2 frickin' War Games on Saturday night. Then we come back with 2 elimination matches on Sunday. I have no idea what the stakes are in.
There are no stakes.
I know. It's like, so what's the deal as you know?
Brand supremacy.
Yeah, we've already been through brand supremacy for a couple of years, and when it's over, it means nothing because it's all forgotten. It's like last year, SmackDown lost every single match, and there was supposed to be a storyline reason, but they forgot it. Like, you know, about a week after, they just decided they were going to drop the reason, to drop the angle that they started. So it ended up going nowhere, you know, because that was supposed to be the beginning of the Shane turn, and then they postponed the Shane turn for a couple months. And by that point, it's like, you know, oh, God, I don't know.
All I know is this show was supposed to have a Bayley-Nikki Cross match where if...
Did that match ever start?
If Nikki won, she would be added to the Survivor Series team.
But why?
Even though Lacey Evans just got put on the team, Nikki has to qualify. But if Nikki loses... I have no idea. I'm trying to explain all this. If Nikki loses, she's not on the team, but Bayley's not on the team because Bayley's in a 3-way.
Yep.
This starts, but then ends, and they go to this convoluted 4-on-4 match. Dakota Kai loses to Nikki. And I'm like, so is Nikki on the team now? Because she was in the single? Like, what's going on here?
I don't know, but at least Dakota Kai could lose because she's not in, like, the War Games, and she's probably not going to be...
She could lose, but, like, these NXT stars have lost on Raw and on SmackDown, and I'm looking at that NXT number, and I'm thinking, man... Hey, you're looking for other reasons that number wasn't very good this week? How about you beat every single NXT person on Raw? Now we've beat every NXT person on SmackDown. I'm sure they're going to beat every NXT person on Raw again.
Great first week of the invasion.
Yeah, they had the great SmackDown, and after that it was like beat them, squash them, beat them, and then we got Wednesday to look forward to. I'm like, man. You know, all these NXT stars on the main roster, you knew what you were in for. Vince got his hands on every one of them.
I'll bet you that they're sitting there going like, they're getting the rub. They're getting to be on Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah, they got a great rub this week with that 750,000 viewers.
Well, look.
And by the way, that's another one. I don't want to go off here again.
No, but I got to say this though. That's better than they would have done 2 weeks ago. That they were down from last week. Yeah, because they had freaking AJ Styles.
I know, and you know what I had to hear from everybody?
You got to throw that out.
Oh, the well, you know, they didn't advertise AJ, but now people will expect a surprise and they'll tune in. Yeah, well, guess what didn't happen? They didn't tune in, expecting a surprise.
Well, but look, they were tracking. The way they were going, they would have been, I would say, by now in the mid-6s. So they're still well above what they would have been. Without 750s above what they would have been doing, you know, because they got as low as 580. Oh, that was against Game 7.
That was Game 7. That doesn't count.
Okay, yeah, but they were at 680, like 680 the week before. So, and they were tracking down every single week. So they would have been 650 and probably lower than 650 by now, if it wasn't for, you know, those guys being on the show. So it did help a little bit. But as far as like the 750, that's also, they would have only been 735 if it wasn't for the fact that you know, they did that overrun. So it's really, if you want to talk about
735, so they're barely above where they were Game 7 of the World Series.
Yeah. But they didn't, you know, they, whatever, you know, like if somebody showed up at the beginning of the show from the main roster, maybe it would have helped them. Nobody did until the end. It's not going to help them at that point. I mean, that's not going to help your rating when they tune in the last minute. So, you know, but I
don't know if Daniel Bryan's a babyface or a heel. I don't know if Bray Wyatt's a babyface or a heel.
No. Okay, well,
Daniel Bryan cut a great promo, but I'm pretty sure he buried the fans. I'm pretty sure that he's a heel right now.
I don't know what he is, but when that Daniel Bryan Miz promo, I thought was okay. It's like, yeah, Daniel Bryan's a great talker, And so is The Miz, for that matter. So we had two great talkers there. But that segment, to me, was a big negative. I'm sorry, but when you have someone, I know Ray did it and all that, and just did it, and it didn't kill Ray and everything. But if a wrestler goes out there and he himself says that he may be washed up, it's like, fuck that. You know what I mean? When a fighter goes, hey, I may be washed up, it's like, you're burying yourself. You know, it's like when Miz and here's Miz, who's older than Daniel Bryan, saying that Daniel Bryan's old and washed up. You know, it's just like, Jesus Christ. I mean, can't you build up a star even, you know, in a more constructive way than saying he's washed up and he's not nearly what he was 10 years ago? You know, 10 years ago, they didn't even push the guy. And you're saying he's not even as good as that. And he's had his, you know, what is the thing? They do that with Cena too, you know, like, you know, where they basically tell you that he's an old man, and even though he doesn't look old, it's like, don't tell people that these guys are old and washed up. You know,
I'm sure in their minds it's the beginning of a redemption story.
They're really wonderful at redemption stories. Although with Ray, they actually did a pretty good job. But that's also a unique situation, because I think that in that case somebody actually had a plan. I don't trust that anyone's got a plan here, because with Daniel Bryan, my God, you know, it's like he's had 14 different plans in the last couple of weeks. So now he's wrestling Bray Wyatt for reasons that I don't know, other than Bray Wyatt has like a memory of when Daniel Bryan double-crossed him. Remember all those years that no one remembers, but I actually do, and I guess the Fiend never forgets.
When Bryan was briefly in the Wyatt family, and they realized how stupid it was, and they just dropped the angle.
Yeah. Isn't that the idea? Isn't that the angle?
I'm sure that is. He said, I don't forget. I'm sure that's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say I'm sure, because I'm not sure about anything, but I presume that's what he's talking about.
That's what I thought. Just how many years ago for 2 weeks that, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, but that's the reason for this championship match. Then now they're talking about Strowman in that position. Good luck for him.
When are we going to get the quarters? Monday? Are you going to get quarters for this show?
For which show?
Smackdown.
Yeah, I'll get them Monday probably. Yeah.
All right. I need to see how this Corbin.
Well, they're gonna. We already know the second hour drops.
I know, but I need to know how many people turned off when that dog came out.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah. I would suspect it's a pretty high number, honestly, if I'm going to bet. That segment was,
hideous.
I don't even.
Does nobody even remember why they did the wild card rule?
Yeah, I remember, because their ratings were sucking and they needed to have more.
Yeah,
more
do you remember the top feud when they had to bring back the wild card rule? No. Roman Reigns and Baron Corbin.
Oh, great.
That's what it was.
Great. Well, I was never a proponent of redoing that feud now, but you know, that's
well, here we are again. The feud that launched this wretched summer ratings issue that they had. Now, when they need good numbers Friday night on SmackDown, they're building it around Roman Reigns and Baron Corbin again. And now it's even worse. Now we got this stupid mascot, which, you know what's going to happen. Roman Reigns is going to be under the costume in about 2 weeks. He's going to take off the head. He's going to spear Corbin. Everybody's going to cheer, and they're going to go, I knew it. This was awesome.
I figured he was doing. I figured he was the guy under the mask at the very beginning. Except
he wasn't. But it's coming.
Well, of course it's coming. That's like, yeah, whatever. I don't know what to say about this. You know, look.
I see this stuff and I'm like, I am too old for this. Like, this is for little kids. But then I look at the demos and it's like, it's only old people watching. I don't even get it.
It's not only, but most of the viewers, the majority of viewers are older than you.
How in the world are these people older than me sitting through this show when this dude comes out with a mascot barking Roman Reigns' theme song? I don't even get it.
Because a lot of them are just people who have the television on. See, here's the thing with ratings, okay? It's like ratings only measure the number of people watching the show. They don't measure how closely you're watching. You know, it's like if you're watching like really, really closely and intently, I mean, what measures that is like, you know, pay-per-view buys. We can't even figure that out anymore because it's just because they're out of that thing. So it would be network numbers. Okay, we see the network numbers. They're dropping. They dropped scarily this year. 10% drop in a metric that should never drop. That's not so good. So that's. I mean, as far as like people are going to watch, people are going to watch Fox. I mean, it's just now again, I'm not saying that they don't have any fans, because they clearly do. And their numbers are, Fox, of course, this was, they had that big thing in, New York. I think it was in New York where, I think it was Eric Shanks. And I know it was Michelle Wilson were together. Talking about how happy they were with the ratings, but that was it Friday? No, I think it was the 12th. So it was a couple days ago. So it was before this show, and last week's rating was good. So, whatever. But they're talking about how happy they are and how Vince has been receptive to their ideas of how to shoot the show. So I guess they've giving him some ideas. I wish they would give him ideas on how to book the show, but
we should give him ideas about how to go to commercial. All right, what do you think of this takeover show?
When we talk SmackDown?
Well, we're running out of time, but let's go through quick SmackDown notes.
Okay, so I loved the New Day match with Heavy Machinery against Undisputed Era. I thought that was really good. A million t-shirt brawls. They all look the same. They did Sasha Banks and Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley. Charlotte Flair okay? I mean, her face was all busted up.
I heard nothing today.
Okay, well, her face was all busted up in that match. This should help Wednesday a lot, and it does tell you, and it's another sign, because if this was another situation, I mean, I've seen enough WWE and I know enough Vince booking that the natural inclination would be not to put NXT over. You would put Raw over, pretty much. Now, because of SmackDown being on the network, you might balance it out. But they had Rhea Ripley win. They had the Undisputed Era win. They had the Miz and Daniel Bryan. Now, I will say this: so Miz and Daniel Bryan, and then. Lights go out and the Fiend's in the ring, and he puts out Daniel Bryan into the mandible claw and everything. When that was over, it's like, why do I want to watch the Fiend and Daniel Bryan when we've now had two incidences where, all we're told is that Daniel Bryan is weak and vulnerable and washed up. And we had two instances with the Fiend, who's been killing everyone anyway, and he's just destroys Daniel Bryan. It's not like it's a fight where he's attacking him from behind, or it's you know what I mean. It's like, I don't think anyone thinks Daniel Bryan's going to win this match, and it's like, I got no interest in this match. I mean, like, none. And that's Daniel Bryan match, and I don't even think it's going to be a good match. It's going to be a match with that frickin' red tint. And I'm going to be sitting there waiting for it to end. I mean, it's like, it's a Daniel Bryan match. That's bad booking. Let's see what else. 6-man tag. They did that. What was the thing? Oh, no. It was actually in the tag match where they had the little tease with the New Day and Heavy Machinery. So that may pay off somewhere down the line. The 6-man tag was fine. Chad Gable is tremendous. And then they came out in the tank, and they did. So it felt kind of, it got over in the building. It's a iconic part of their history, the tank thing. I felt it
was a gimmick from 1998.
Yeah, but they tell you about it so much.
It's 2019.
God, they tell you about it so much. But the people popped. But it felt, okay, to me watching it felt very corny. And yeah, that's what but overall, I thought as a show, every NXT thing was over in the building. And, really, I think that show and Tonight Show as well really helped the idea of the NXT brand, because the Tonight Show was, every takeover is always great. And I don't know if this was any better than the other takeover. It wasn't any worse than, it was a great show. It wasn't the best takeover, of the year, but it was a freaking great show. everything was good. So anyway, okay.
Let's talk about the SmackDown show. What'd you think?
I thought the show was fine. They had they had a small crowd, but they had a great responding crowd. So like the Roman Reigns match with Robert Roode had great crowd reactions, and I thought it was a really good, a basic match, but a good basic match. I thought Roode did a good job. Roman Reigns did a good job. The show was...
Dude, this opening segment was the first 40 minutes of SmackDown. We had Roman Reigns coming out, and he's doing this promo about how
just
thankful he is for...
Happy Thanksgiving.
Well, he's thankful that last year at this time he was in rough shape, and here we are.
Yeah, he would have been about 5-6 weeks into his treatment.
That's right. So here he is a year later, and he's thankful, and he's happy. He's got his family. He's got the fans behind him. Out comes Baron Corbin. We have the usual deal, and it leads to Roman Reigns versus Robert Roode. We got Corbin out there. We got Ziggler out there. And they wrestled, and for a while it was just like a match, but it really did pick up at the end.
It was a good match, though. Yeah.
And, of course, Roman Reigns gets a spear for the pin, and then afterwards they do the big deal where Ziggler jumps Roman, Corbin tries to attack him, Robert Roode gets the scepter, and he tries to smash the scepter over Roman's head. His head's on a chair, and Roman moves out of the way, and he sees all the damage that Robert Roode was about to have caused his brain. So he decides he must destroy this guy, and he goes out and he destroys him on the outside. He dumps the announce table on him. He throws chairs onto him. He just crushes this guy. And
he speared him through the barricade.
Yep, speared him through the barricade.
And then he put the barricade on top of Roode, and then he put he threw the chairs, like those chairs, and the table. And he turned the table over on the barricade and threw the chairs. Yeah.
So he just crushes this guy. He destroys him. They stretcher Robert Roode out. And I looked down, and we're 40 minutes into the show. That was a long, long segment right there. And when it was over, I was just kind of like, what the hell are we doing here? Like, I liked it, but what, good. Roman's going to continue feuding with Ziggler and Corbin?
Oh, that I don't know.
It seems like he should have more important things to do.
Well, the plan, which who knows if it's, I'll try to check this week, but the plan was Roman Reigns against Corbin in some sort of stipulation match for the pay-per-view.
It'd probably be tables, ladders, and chairs, since Roman, there was a chair used here, there was a table used here. The only thing that wasn't used was a ladder. So maybe it'll be a chairs match, who knows?
It could be a chairs match, it could be a tables match, because the TLC is going to be the plan was that the TLC match would be Charlotte and Becky Lynch against Asuka and Kairi Sane for the women's tag team titles.
So then we had a Bray Wyatt edition. This was like the first of 3 Firefly Funhouse segments. He's got a new belt, which apparently you can buy for $6,700. Is that correct?
Some crazy figure like that, yeah. So I think it was like 6,000.
It's either 6,400 or 6,700. But
I think it might be 6,400.
The fact of the matter is, it's over $6,000 for this belt.
Yeah, it's overpriced,
dude. This right here. Like, if you're gonna say what's one story that defines 2019, like that's way up there. WWE has this audience now that is dwindling and dwindling and dwindling. But the people that remain are willing to spend much money on this.
Well, we
product.
don't know how many people are actually going to.
Well, I don't know how many are going to buy the belt, but I mean, they would not have priced this belt at $6,400 if they didn't think that what they have left is willing to potentially pay that amount.
If they don't believe that if they believe nobody's willing to spend it, they would not have priced it this high. This is definitely an experiment, and if it sells well, there will be more things like that priced in similar range. And if it doesn't sell well, then that will be a lesson as well. So, yeah, 60, crazy though.
We had Mustafa Ali beating Drew Gulak, just a match. It was fine, not a lot of heat. Bunch of backstage segments.
They only had 3 minutes. They were good though for the 3 minutes. They were good.
Had a bunch of backstage segments, and then Bayley and Sasha come out, and they're cutting their promo about the Survivor Series. and they are interrupted by, of all people, Lacey Evans, who is apparently now a babyface. There were fans
Complete babyface, yeah.
chanting for her. And they went back and forth, and then Lacey Evans knocked out Sasha Banks, and that was into the segment. So I guess they're probably going to be doing a match next week.
Okay, so the key was that Bayley wouldn't attack her. Like she knocked out Sasha, and Bayley backed off. So then Bayley didn't help Sasha either. Although when she was gone, Bayley whatever, but Bayley wouldn't jump her. So it's the idea is that Bayley was afraid of her. So that's the thing. She turned. Elias turned with no turn. So we're doing a lot of turns with no turn. Yeah, yes.
Okay, wow, that's news to me.
Yeah.
We had another Daniel Bryan segment, but the Firefly Funhouse played again. And this time it was Bray Wyatt doing the Muscle Man dance with the pig. This was awesome. And they do this video. I love this video. Daniel Bryan just watches it and he just hangs his head. So the funniest thing about this was when the video's over, Kayla goes, "Daniel Bryan, do you have any thoughts?" And Daniel Bryan sits there in deep contemplation. He puts his head down. And they cut to commercial.
Yeah.
How about you give the guy some time to answer?
He needed time to compose his thoughts.
I see. Well, when they came back from commercial, they were doing Nikki Cross versus Sonya Deville. So, I mean...
Well, but they did give Daniel Bryan more interview time later.
They sure did, but that was bizarre. So, Nikki Cross, Sonya Deville, they had a match, and Nikki Cross pinned her with an inside cradle, small package.
Didn't Sonya do a superplex? Sonya did a move. Let's see.
I don't think it was a superplex.
Yeah, I don't remember the move, but...
Well, anyway, the heels attack her, and who should make the big save but Alexa Bliss? She is back, and she runs down, and she hugs Nikki.
Oh, it was the old Ric Flair slam off the top rope. And then, match only went a minute and a half, so it wasn't anything much of a match.
So Alexa runs down, makes a save, she hugs Nikki, and then Nikki hugs her, and then she hugs her again, and again, and again, and again. I could be wrong, but I watched this, and I think Alexa's turning on Nikki sooner rather than later.
Well, at some point she is. I mean, I think that's been always been the end result of this thing.
We had a segment with Miz and Daniel Bryan, and Miz said that you've got to defeat the Fiend. Look what he did.
No. This was different. Before he had to beat the Fiend to save his children. Miz has done the complete 180. Now it's just don't even wrestle him because he's going to ruin you. He ruined Seth, even though Seth's around every week, and he ruined Finn Balor, even though Finn Balor's around every week.
Yeah, he said, "Look at how they've changed." I was like, okay, one guy. They both turned heel.
Yeah, but
I mean, that's what I got out of it.
Yeah, and I guess that we can't afford Daniel Bryan to turn heel, even though he was a heel just a couple weeks ago.
So Miz mentioned that Daniel Bryan talked about his family. Bryan did not want to hear the word family, and Miz said, "All right, I'll get out of here." Then we had the segment with the Drifter. Drake Maverick is back there trying to hit on Dana Brooke. Tries to hold up the mistletoe. She wants none of it.
He's a married dude.
That's what she said. She goes, "Aren't you married?" And he goes, "It's complicated." Up walks the Drifter. He plays a song.
He insults Drake.
Yeah, Dana
likes his music. And then Corey Graves made a Dave Bautista reference because they're having a... I don't know if they have a romance or not, but they're pretending to if they don't.
They're teasing on social media that they're having some sort of something or other.
Yeah.
And we had the New Day versus Cesaro and Nakamura. And it was all right. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
And right. Kingston hit the Trouble in Paradise on Cesaro for the pin. And that was it. Sami Zayn tried to interfere. He got ejected. And that's about it for that. Then we had the Daniel Bryan segment where he comes down to the ring. He's cutting this promo. And he basically turns babyface. He gets the fans to chant the yes chant. He does the yes chant. Another Firefly Funhouse. This time, Bray Wyatt says... Bray Wyatt's been wanting him to do a rematch. The second Firefly Funhouse before the rap video... Bray basically said, "Hey, I want to play again with Daniel Bryan. Does Daniel Bryan want to do this?" And so Daniel Bryan finally comes out and he accepts the challenge. And then when Bray appears on the big screen, he says, I promised a new face here on SmackDown. And so the lights go out and he comes out from underneath the ring. He attacks Bryan, puts him in the claw, drags him into a hole in the ring. And all of a sudden you start seeing hair yanked out from underneath the ring. So I guess Bray Wyatt has scalped Daniel Bryan. Is that what happened here?
I do not know, but that was the conclusion that I came to.
He better not have hair next week.
My expectation was that he's probably not going to have hair next week, or less hair, if nothing else. But probably shaved his head bald. Yeah, I mean, whatever. I'll tell you what, man. I don't know exactly. You know, even though they had a good match at the last pay-per-view, this doesn't like get me all excited to see him wrestle again.
You know, I don't want to fantasy book The Fiend because pretty much anything you fantasy book is pretty stupid, but I'm old school, and if you're going to shave your damn head, it should be in a match. And you could have done an easy storyline where Bray Wyatt is always friendly Bray Wyatt, but when he puts that mask on, then he's the Fiend. Daniel Bryan wants the mask. Bray Wyatt says, I'll give you a shot at the mask, but you got to put your hair on the line. Boom, you're done.
Yeah, well, that's...
Instead, he dragged this guy into the ring on the Thanksgiving edition of the show, the lowest rated SmackDown that we have seen yet on Fox.
Was it the lowest?
This would have been the lowest. It was just barely the lowest.
Okay, just barely lower than... Yeah, than the last one.
It was just barely the lowest, but I mean, you lost your hair on that show in an unplanned... Not unplanned, but like, you know, you just got dragged into the ring and your hair got pulled out.
Well, we'll find out next week. You know, what the status of his hair is, but...
Was this his back hair? I mean, that was a lot of hair that came off the dude's body. He better be bald next week.
Yeah, yeah, probably. I mean, that's what I figure.
Just a weird angle.
Everything's weird about it. It's like they book it to be... They book the matches to make you less excited to see them. And then they put the guys in the worst handicap in the world because you've got this monster who can't sell too much or else he loses his superpower, you know, his aura. And they put him in red tint so you just lose your interest in it. So it's like they're just out there to make Daniel Bryan prove like you cannot ruin a Daniel Bryan match no matter how hard you try, I guess is the idea. Even though I guess they were certainly able to do that with Seth. You know, because he never pulled out a good match, none, and not to his whatever. You know, I mean, and that's it was 0% blame on Seth. There's nothing he could have done, I suppose. Well, I shouldn't say zero because Daniel Bryan did get a good match out of him. So before I thought nobody...
wait, because somebody mentioned this on Observer Live. If you would have had Daniel Bryan do the same match that Seth Rollins had to do in Hell in a Cell, which was basically just hit the Fiend with stuff for 15 minutes while the Fiend didn't sell it.
Yeah,
and then you had
good.
Seth go in there and actually try to have a wrestling match with a babyface comeback against Bray Wyatt. They would have been two totally different matches. We would be saying, man, Seth got a match out of the Fiend that Daniel Bryan couldn't get.
I wouldn't go so far as to say that because you got to prove it first.
Well, you do, but like, how could Daniel Bryan have made that Hell in a Cell match any good if it were booked the exact same way that Hell in a Cell match was?
Nobody could have made that match good because there were way too many handicaps. Nobody, yes. I do believe nobody could have had that could have made that match good. But the idea that Seth could have made the other match good that Daniel Bryan did, he very well have been able to. But there's no proof that he could.
I'm not saying that it would have been as good as a Daniel Bryan match, but if Seth Rollins would have been allowed to have a match with The Fiend, I guarantee it would be better than the Hell in a Cell match he had with The Fiend.
Oh, well, shit. No shit. That match was terrible.
Yes.
Of course, if he... Any kind of difference from that would have been a better match. You know, if he had done that same match, but it was shorter, it would have been better. If he had done that match with a finish, it would have been 1,000,000 times better. Or 10 times better, anyway. But yeah, no, they basically put him in a situation where it was like, yeah, you know, no one in that situation with that finish was going to end up pleasing the people when it was over. In no way.
Okay, did you want to go over SmackDown?
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't watch. I've watched the last 10 minutes of the show, And that closing couple minutes was like gave me all of the power to say, this is why I don't watch this show or Raw, because it was so silly at the end. But how was the show overall?
It was very much a show written for Vince McMahon. Like the whole show, I could see it's like we're writing this to entertain Vince. That said, I thought the show moved well. I was not bored during the show. I thought that they were pretty strong with building the angles. I could see where a lot of people wouldn't like a lot of aspects of the show, but I didn't really have a problem. So the opening segment was supposed to be Miz TV with Daniel Bryan, but Daniel Bryan has now disappeared. And, the idea is when he got all his hair pulled off, it's like, it's supposed to be a mystery now on what happens. And I'm going to guess he's going to, so he's out of the pay-per-view. Originally, it was going to be, Bray Wyatt and Daniel Bryan. And Daniel Bryan himself was actually pushing to delay it. He didn't want to be, he thought this pay-per-view was too soon. And he's, I guess, pretty hands-on with his story, which if I was him, I would be too, because I wouldn't want these people messing with my stories. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be Miz. Now, it's not going to be The Fiend against The Miz. It's going to be Bray Wyatt against The Miz. And it's not going to be for the championship. So it's going to be Mr. Rogers against The Miz for whatever reason.
They just want to convolute things?
Yeah, I don't even know.
Well, I guess now, if it's Bray Wyatt, then he and Miz can have a somewhat competitive match, because if it's The Fiend, then it's got to be a squash.
Right, yeah. So the story here was that Bray Wyatt in the Funhouse wants new friends, and he shows a picture of The Miz and Maurice and the two kids, right? Two daughters. And, it's sort of like this implied threat. Now, here's another thing. It's like, and this is one of the things where they miss the boat on the young audience. Because I could just, again, it's like, I can think back, it's a long time ago, but I can think back like when I was a teenager, okay? And if I saw this storyline, it would not resonate with me. Like the idea of threatening a guy through his kids. If you have kids, you can totally relate to this, right? Mm-hmm. So that's going to be people 30 and up. Mm-hmm. Under that, you don't want your wrestling superheroes to have kids. You just want them to be wrestling superheroes.
Yeah.
You don't really want, like, you can sort of like for an angle here and there, like threaten the family once, with something there. But when you're doing it over and over, and it's everyone, and it's about, these married men with kids who, you know what I mean? It's like an 18-year-old doesn't want to relate to married men with kids. They want to relate to some college hotshot guy who's going to go to the NBA and make millions of dollars, right? Isn't that kind of like when you're 18? I mean, look at like the kids, right? Who would be the biggest basketball star? It wouldn't be the older guy married with kids.
Except...
Well, LeBron. Yeah, LeBron.
But
but you know what I'm saying as a general rule. When I was a kid, the younger stars of the NBA were bigger to me than the older stars.
Well, the NBA doesn't actually promote those guys in that way, but because of social media, now you see all their families and stuff.
Yeah.
But the NBA itself doesn't promote. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying, and the analogy that I always use is rock star, and then people tell me, there's not even rock stars anymore. And I'm like, okay, yeah.
I know. All the rock stars are 60 years old.
I know. Those are the only ones that can make money still.
But does that tell you about that genre? Well, anyway, yeah. I know. I kept thinking like, God, why isn't Hulk Hogan drawing? Because he's probably younger than Springsteen.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're the same age group. I don't know.
Stones.
Yeah, the Stones, who I know are older than Hogan. Okay, well, anyway, so they show the thing. Miz, of course, gets mad seeing the implied threat of his family. He runs backstage to get at Bray Wyatt, and then he runs and he's in a room with a photo, and there's it's dark, and then Bray attacks him from behind and gives him Sister Abigail, and that's essentially the angle for the thing. So Miz even called up Maurice on the phone and goes, "Lock the doors, set the alarm. I'm coming home right away. I'm coming home tonight." And it's like, we did this with AJ Styles and Samoa Joe. I mean, we've gone to this well far too often. Mandy Rose, Alexa Bliss, The wrestling wasn't good. This was a good crowd in Fayetteville, which is usually a good reacting crowd anyway. So they reacted well to it. I could see the idea we're going to have the two hot girls wrestle each other. So the big angle is that Mandy Rose ripped off Alexa Bliss's fake eyelashes. However, Alexa Bliss still came back to win the match when Sonya Deville tried to distract Nikki Cross, took her out. Bliss did what was supposed to be a DVD. It wasn't exactly a DDT, but then went with Twisted Bliss. But the crowd was into this. So next we have another. This is a really Vince McMahon segment. So Drake Maverick is still hitting on Dana Brooke, and we of course know Drake Maverick is recently married, and he's still hitting on her, and she's of course like blowing him off because she's far too hot for a little guy, which is the whole Vince McMahon, little guy, let's make fun of the little guy thing, which we already have Shorty G, we don't need a second one, right? So little guys try to overachieve, but they're just not good enough. So she brought up, or somehow it was brought up, that she's going out with Dave Bautista this week. So whatever, right? So Drake is going, what does Batista have that I don't? So Elias shows up and goes, he's a millionaire and he's tall. So just to make sure that we don't have any, issues.
Drake should have said that
What?
Batista's outside of the 18 to 49 demographic.
Batista's 20 years older than you. What, 21 years older? Dana's 30. Dave's almost 51. So 21-year age difference. Does that mean that... Okay, forget it. It's a bad joke. Okay, so Elias then implies that, in fact, he's had sex with Drake's wife. And so Drake slaps him, and Elias is pissed. And it's like, you just implied you had sex with his wife, and now you're mad that he slaps him? Like, come on. And then so Dana Brooke goes, did you really? And he goes, no, but now I'm mad at him. So then Drake comes out to the ring, and he says, everybody thinks I'm a joke. And he calls out Elias. I don't want a wrestling match. I want to fight. So it's like, so Elias comes out with Dana Brooke, which is what makes the segment so weird. So they do a bunch of midget spots, mini spots, if people are going to get mad at me for using that term, where basically Drake is too small. Like Elias isn't even fighting him. He's just like holding him like this, and he's swinging, and he's too small, and he can't even hit him. It's like a child with an adult.
It's like Joshua Ruiz compared to that.
Way worse than Joshua and Ruiz. Way worse. But while this is going on, and they're just making a complete fool of Maverick, there's Dana Brooke standing there just laughing at him, and it's just like, is this the deal? It's like, isn't like in the movies when you have like the small underachiever and he's looking for the hot girl, you know what I mean? I've seen a million movies like this, right? Does the hot girl, like, if she's a heel, she can laugh at him, but she's supposed to be a babyface, and she's just laughing at how completely incompetent he is. Now, granted, he did hit on her, and he was married, so I mean, there is that, but anyway.
All Hollywood actors are like 5'7" or 5'8".
Don't tell Vince. Vince would change all those scripts and have like none of them get the women at the end. So anyway, Dana's laughing at him. Elias kicks his ass. Finally, he gives up, wants to leave. So Dana throws him back in the ring, and he gives him the drift away, and it's over. Okay, so then the Miz segment. So then we had...
The only thing interesting to that about me is, have Batista and Dana Brooke gone on a date yet?
I don't think so. They just go at each other in social media, I think, for whatever reason. She was dating an NBA player, the last I heard. I don't know what happened. Enes Kanter, yeah. So then we had a four-way. So the idea a couple days ago was that the New Day was going to defend against Rude and Ziggler. But that was up in the air, so they decided to do a four-way without Rude and Ziggler because Rude and Ziggler were occupied with Corbin and Roman Reigns. So we had a four-way for the title shot. It's the Revival, Heavy Machinery, Grand Metalik and Lince Dorado, and Shorty G and Ali, with the idea it's an elimination match to give them commercial breaks and more time and all that. This match was freaking great. I mean, it was like, Ali and Chad Gable are they're both great at what they do. They were awesome. The Revival, one of the best tag teams in the world. Heavy Machinery, a really one's charismatic and the other is that's it is what he is. I mean, he's big and he's such a great athlete and he can do things, but he just kind of gets lost personality-wise in the sub thing. And then, Lince Dorado and Metalik are talented luchadors. So the whole match is just freaking great. So the first thing is they do the compactor on Grand Metalik, so those guys are gone, that Heavy Machinery. Then Otis does Otis is getting this great reaction, does the Caterpillar on Dawson. Wilder tries a sunset flip on Otis. Otis blocks it. Then Dawson gives him an up kick, and Wilder gets the pin on Otis using the trunks. So people were a little upset there with those guys losing. But we were left, and we had like 8 minutes, and granted 4 of them were commercial, but whatever, with the Revival against Shorty G and Ali. And you've seen, the Revival against, what was it, Gable and... Jordan, yeah, right. Jason Jordan. How great those matches were. Like this, I don't want to say it was as great as that, but it was an abbreviated form of the exact same thing. Freaking fantastic. Gable's great, And they end up doing the Shadow Machine on Shorty G, and he gets pinned. But an absolutely great match. Probably the best match on SmackDown in a long time. Roman Reigns did an interview. Said he was going to embarrass Corbin at TLC. Sheamus did an interview. He's back. You can come home again. Lacey Evans and Haley Jones. It's just a squash match, women's right finish. Really pushing the idea of Lacey Evans as this super baby face now after being a heel. Sasha Banks and Lacey Evans have a verbal confrontation, and Lacey Evans is now... Banks just goes, "You're a terrible role model to your 6-year-old." So now Lacey Evans is the mother of a 6-year-old who's in the military, in a military city, just playing up, my time in the military, and I learned to fight in the military, and I learned discipline in the military, and I'm the whole military thing. She's a, mother, babyface, the whole thing. So she's just completely reverted her character with no angle other than Sasha Banks brought this up. She goes for the punch on Banks, and Banks just drops and is afraid of her. So that's the deal of getting her over. So she goes to the back, and she's jumped by Bayley. Bayley and Lacey they're not announced for the pay-per-view, but that is on the agenda for the pay-per-view. Then the main event, Roman Reigns and Dolph Ziggler, very good match. Roman Reigns won with a spear, and then we had the post-match. So Corbin comes out in this thing being carried out like a king, and he ends up trying to distract, and then you got all these security guys. Roman Reigns is beating on security guys. He waffled one of them. Oh my God. That poor guy, he was knocked silly for a long time, but for real. And then all the security guys and Ziggler basically get Roman Reigns. They handcuff both hands behind his back onto the post, so he's helpless. And they're just beating the hell out of him. And then Ziggler and Corbin just pour dog food, can after can of dog food all over him, and that's how the show ends. So, it's a strong angle. I mean, it's a dog food angle, that goes. I think a lot of people wouldn't particularly see that as classy pro wrestling. I know they're going to talk about how they've elevated wrestling, and this was hardly elevating wrestling, but it was an angle to build a match. So we got our pay-per-view now anyway. We got Roman Reigns and Corbin, which is going to be a TLC match. Bayley and Lacey. We got the New Day against the Revival. And then what else? Miz and Bray Wyatt, which at this point is a non-title match, and he's not the Fiend. That's the plan as of today. God knows if that changes or not. And then on the other side, nothing's announced, but it's Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens is a probable, but not a for sure. We got AJ Styles and Randy Orton. Now, AJ's wrestling Ray for the championship, so he may win the title back in the U.S. title match. I don't know that that's the case. Randy may cost him the match and he loses it again, but AJ and Randy is the direction as of right now.
I remember that one match, that really fun match they had on SmackDown a couple years ago.
AJ and Randy, they had one really good one. Yeah, but then they had, another one that was such a disappointment, too. Cedric Alexander and Buddy Murphy are planned for a singles match, and there's no lighting in here, and it's freaking...
I'll turn it on.
Yeah, I mean, it's like... the weather's freaking horrendous here. I'm trying to think if there's any other matches. I'm trying to read my notes in the freaking dark. I think there's another one. Okay, but that's the Viking Raiders and Gallows and Anderson for the tag team titles. So that's the planned card as of right now, which may change 4 times between now and Monday.
Well, we should talk about SmackDown here since we got the TLC show on, this afternoon, actually.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. So the TLC show, I mean, if we've been following this is like, there's a lot of different factors in it. So now I think from what I was told on Friday morning, and I was told expressly that like, things can change again. They were probably going to add a pre-show match, and then the matches that they've announced now are it. They moved, so AJ and Randy Orton was moved to Raw on Monday, so that will not be on the show. Braun Strowman was not medically cleared, so Nakamura Strowman is not going to be on the show. And was there one more? Oh, Bayley and Lacey Evans, after shooting the angles for it, the decision was made that it's too early, and they're now planning it for probably the Royal Rumble if, they want to hold it off for the Royal Rumble, which is a long ways away for angles that have already been shot now. But as of Friday morning, that was not on the show, and they didn't announce it, even though, they're still, they started the angles for it already.
Well, here's the rest of the show. Roman Reigns and Baron Corbin, TLC match.
Okay, so hold on that. On Thursday night in Green Bay, Drake Maverick was managing Baron Corbin, which surprised me because, I know that Drake Maverick managing Baron Corbin has been the plan, but I figured that they would shoot it on TV first.
Why is Drake Maverick managing Baron Corbin?
Yeah, so what? If you remember, not on this Friday show, but last Friday's show, in the Roman Reigns beatdown, there was a guy from under the ring who grabbed Roman Reigns' leg, and that kind of helped tie him up in the corner when they poured the dog food on him. And I presume that was Drake Maverick. I don't know that was Drake Maverick, but I do know that Drake Maverick, I knew that they were already advertising Drake Maverick in January, for January shows. It's Baron Corbin with Drake Maverick. So I figured maybe they would shoot the angle at this.
Still doesn't really answer my question. Why is Drake Maverick with Baron Corbin?
I don't have an answer.
They want a court jester for this guy?
Maybe. I don't have an answer to that. So, and I don't know that he's showing up and helping Baron Corbin in the show, but he was already managing him on Thursday night, which was, but they didn't shoot an angle on Friday, which I figured once, I don't know why he's managing him at the house shows before they shoot the angle, but he was. So that's what's going on there.
All right. Well, we have that one. We have the New Day versus the Revival in a ladder match for the SmackDown Tag Team titles.
I wonder how that's going to be because the Revival's been having really good matches, but the ladder is like, I don't know if that's like their forte, but they're thinking wrestlers. They'll do. I'm sure that's going to be a great match.
Bray Wyatt versus The Miz.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not, that's a tough one,
Dude, how can you care? There's no title on the line. It's not The Fiend, which at least means we won't get the red light, but
we did have
this is a Bray Wyatt-Miz singles match for nothing.
But we did have a really silly angle on SmackDown where, he actually did threaten his children in some weird way, or at least implied threat, because he left that scary doll in what's
Monroe.
What?
Monroe
Sky's crib, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Aleister Black versus Buddy Murphy.
So that's an interesting one because really this one is all about the crowd in Minneapolis and what they're going to think. Because from a, technical standpoint, they're probably going to have a great match. But they're also, they're not. They've not been featured much. I mean, Buddy Murphy's just been featured for a couple weeks. Aleister Black's been in all the videos, but neither of them have really been in. They've got an angle to his degree. He knocked on his door. If that's your angle. But it's sort of like, to me, a cold match, but it's an important match because, again, with Vince, how Vince gives everyone, not that much, and if the crowd's with them, they're gonna have a great match. I mean, there's not a doubt in my mind, because I know, they're both really talented guys, but this is a WWE pay-per-view crowd, and very often, if you have guys that are not perceived as stars, and these guys really aren't stars yet, the crowd can be very quiet, and that can be seen as they're not and it would mean they're not over to that crowd. So it's this is actually a very important match for those two guys.
Kabuki Warriors against Becky Lynch and Charlotte in a TLC match for the women's tag team titles.
Yep. I mean, that's been built up. That's really, that and the Roman Reigns match, to me, are the two main events. And I guess the Rusev match as well, the tables match with Rusev and Bobby Lashley, just because, God, they've been feuding for, it seems like forever, and this is actually their first match, unless they pull that thing of she got a restraining order and the match isn't happening like they've been doing every place else. I can't imagine they would do that on a pay-per-view, though. And although they did it Starrcade, though.
Yeah.
And that was a network special.
I think this is a little bigger, higher profile than that Starrcade show.
Well, it is. Although tickets-wise, it's ticket sales were not good for this show at all. It's shocking.
Rusev and Lashley is a tables match, and then the Viking Raiders face whoever, probably Gallows and Anderson.
Probably. It was always scheduled as Gallows and Anderson. I haven't asked since they announced this. But Monday it was still Gallows and Anderson, where, again, there may be one more. I was told there may be one more match announced for the pre-show tomorrow, but we'll see.
All right, any other SmackDown thoughts?
Let me see. Let me get my SmackDown notes. Let's see. Where's that stuff? The Shorty G and Ali and the Revival was as good as you're going to get for a 9-minute match. They were good. Which was Sami Zayn stuff with the Ham and Otis and everything, and then who was the guy that threw the Ham on the ground at the end? Sami Zayn. So it's everyone's supposed to get, like, was it Christmas presents or something? And Otis gave Sami Zayn a ham, and he's a vegan, so he was insulted by it because a ham was in fact a living animal, and made Otis really sad. Because, so Otis said he was sorry, and Sami Zayn said sorry isn't good enough, and he called him a dumb oaf. And then so Nakamura and Cesaro showed up to, kind of intimidate Heavy Machinery and actually set up a match for later. And Cesaro threw the ham on the floor and started laughing at poor Otis. And this was in Milwaukee, and Otis is from Wisconsin, so he was exceedingly popular here. Which, of course, means that he lost later in the show.
It's pretty much exceedingly popular everywhere.
No, he's way more here, though, than he's been anywhere else. What was it? So the Revival won over Shorty G and Ali with the Shatter Machine on Ali, since they're challenging for the tag team titles. So now Bayley was out. And Sasha is not there because she is recording an album with Snoop Dogg, which is legit. That's actually why she wasn't there. And Elias and Dana Brooke were there, and Elias was playing music, interrupting her promo. So she went over to Elias, who was being completely rude, and wanted to sing a song, and sang a song about her, which essentially the song was that ever since she got the new haircut, she looks like a guy, and how he would never want to be with her because she's not good looking, which whatever. And then Dana Brooke laughed about it. And then Bailey said, when you're done being a groupie, meet me in the ring. They had a match. Bailey won very quickly. Then Renee Young was at Mrs. House to explain, why there were cameras at Mrs. House and why, the doll was in Monroe Sky's crib, or bed or whatever. And, so Bray Wyatt is sneaking into the house, playing mind games with him.
Maybe Renee planted it. Is that out of the question?
Renee's too nice to do something.
she was there.
She was there, but Bray Wyatt
I didn't see Bray Wyatt there.
Well, but she was somehow. Marie saw her on her tablet when she was looking for her daughter, and there was Bray Wyatt's funhouse. So he must have.
Well, she saw the funhouse, but nobody saw Bray Wyatt. I mean, there was the pig there, Huskus, the rabbit, the creepy doll.
Yep. So
Whole thing was just dumb. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's the deal. Heavy Machinery and Nakamura and Corbin, and Nakamura pinned Tucker. Like Tucker's really good. It's like, he doesn't have a lot of charisma, but he's big. His timing is good. Like, he's good. And, Otis is very good too. And then, Kingston and Corbin, which turned into a tag match. They went about 10 minutes and,
when Kingston and Corbin, which went to a DQ, to set up a tag team match that went to a DQ.
A quick DQ.
Can we just have one finish out of the two DQs?
And we could have had a pin. They did the DQ because they wanted to put Kingston in the thing, and it took forever for Roman Reigns to do that freaking run in. It's like everyone knew he was there because throughout the entire show, all they
did was advertise he was going to run in at the end of the show. That's literally the entire point of the show. The big dog is going to be unchained.
Yeah.
So you knew he was coming in.
Yeah, and everywhere that Corbin went with Ziggler, they would every time they turned a corner, there was what was it? Nobody, right, was laid out, like put through a table or something everywhere they went constantly. And then at the end, we all know there's going to be a run-in, and they're just killing poor Kofi Kingston and Big E forever. They've got Kofi handcuffed and chained to the post and just waiting and waiting. The Revival came out as well to, keep Roman Reigns from coming in. So Roman Reigns finally comes in. He's just punching one security guy and another security guy and beating up the Revival guys and made the save at the end. And that was, that was the basic deal. He beat up Corbin and, Ziggler. He beat up Ziggler, and Corbin kind of got away while this was all going on, which, whatever. It's a normal angle. That's, to build up for the show. So, it really is like when we talk about the show to, the pay-per-view show, it really, I guess that's the main event. What a, I wonder them in a TLC. I guess it'll probably be good. It's not like, Roman Reigns usually has real good pay-per-view matches anyway.
Well, you got to look at it this way. It's not really a TLC match because nothing's hanging from the ceiling. So it shouldn't involve like a lot of ladder climbing. It's just basically going to be a hardcore match.
It's going to be a lot of smoke and mirrors.
I'm pretty sure the two of them can do a pretty decent hardcore match.
Yeah, and there's going to be, Ziggler will probably be involved and other people will probably be involved. There's, again, I wouldn't be surprised if Maverick was involved. I don't know. I just know that, like I said, he's advertised to be his new manager. That's the plan. So at some point, they have to shoot the angle. And I was actually expecting before.
All right. What about SmackDown?
SmackDown. I like SmackDown. It was all right. They it opened. So Daniel Bryan. You've seen him, right?
Mm-hmm. With the old school, the old look.
2005 Bryan Danielson. Yeah. So he came out and said that his daughter saw him for the first time and started crying. this stuff with the dog, that's, you know what? I mean, it's like, I know the average audience is like 50 now, right? For SmackDown. So, that it's like, but I keep thinking, like, when I was a kid, they did very few like family oriented angles. I mean, like, they'd never fight for their wife's honor or talk about their kids. If anything, they tried to pretend they were all single.
Yeah.
For marketing reasons. I mean, I remember when in 85-ish, right? And there was an interview with Ricky Steamboat, and this is when he was with WWF. And they go, Ricky, are you single? And it's like the most awkward thing because, he was married to Bonnie, and Bonnie is probably, if she sees it and he says, I'm single, is probably going, what the fuck did you just say? But he has to say what he has to say because that's the rule.
Yeah.
So it was the most awkward, yes, I'm single, I've ever seen in my life. So, yeah, but they never did that. And then the one, speaking of it, which I just said, Steamboat, was in 89 when they played up Ricky Steamboat, Family Man, and all that. And I mean, I would go to the matches, and this great Ricky Steamboat with having these 5-star matches, and everybody would boo him because they were all guys, and they all thought Ric Flair was the coolest. They knew everyone knew Rick was married, but they just figured he's not a family man.
Yeah.
And I mean, people forget about that Flair Steamboat that most of the crowd was behind Flair. But I mean, the matches were so good, it didn't matter who they were behind. But so yeah, they're doing that. And then here it's like everything's about, it's all being booked by older guys. And granted, the audience is older, but it's all about kids and relationships and, women, like the hot women that just like use guys and that are completely self-centered. The whole Lana thing is such a caricature of probably, the whatever, of like all these women. I say that. And yet when I say that, people go, oh, I don't know anyone like that. And I always feel like I know everyone like that. Isn't that the weirdest thing? I know people like that. Exactly, not exactly like her, not to that degree, not to that exaggerated degree, but it's like, it's an exaggerated version of reality.
Sure.
Yeah. So anyway, Daniel Bryan's out. His daughter doesn't recognize him. She's crying. Miz comes out. Miz said that Bray Wyatt violated my the sanctity of my family, and Miz is furious. And it's like, dude, you just...
Finally he's mad?
He was mad before. But it's like, he's mad before. This happens. He gets destroyed in that match. And now Miz is out there, and he's mad again. And it's like, dude, it's like, you should have hit him with the mallet. You got beat. You were like the freaking transition job guy to set up Daniel Bryan.
The only thing I saw was his promo at TLC, and I thought it was awful.
And he's a great promo, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, he was
too gimmicky for the thing.
Just there was any of the passion and the intensity was all like he was reading lines off a teleprompter. Well,
he was, for the most part. It ends up where Corbin is out, and Corbin is just basically, Corbin's just making fun of the kids. He said that Daniel Bryan's daughter was scared because Daddy looks like Baby Yoda, and he delivered that line. It's so, you know what I mean? It's like one of those WWE lines where you just go, oh God, somebody wants to. We got to get a Star Wars line in this promo. What do we say? And it's just like whatever. And then. Corbin said that Daniel Bryan's a failure, and Daniel Bryan got in his face, and then Dolph Ziggler attacked both of them, and they kind of left him laying. He super kicked Miz. End of days on Bryan. Sets up the tag match. Heavy Machinery's out, and Mandy Rose is the one chosen. On SmackDown, I guess everyone has to give Secret Santa gifts, right? So she gives Otis a ham. And it's Mandy Rose, and he's all excited because it's Mandy Rose, right? So as an idiot, he brings the ham to ringside. You know what's happening, right? So it's Heavy Machinery against the Revival, and it's a Miracle on 34th Street fight. And I mean, it's a good match. Revival's always good, and when Otis makes his comeback, the place goes nuts. He's got all that charisma. And Tucker's a good worker. He just doesn't have that charisma. And Otis does like cool stuff, all the way slam on both guys at the same time. And they do the trash compactor on Dawson. We'll be seeing a lot of that, I think. And they lose. And then backstage, so anyway, the ham ends up getting destroyed and thrown on the ground. And who did it? Dawson threw the ham threw it on the ground. So Otis is backstage, and there's Mandy, and he's all sad because they destroyed the gift. And I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have brought the ham out in front of the crowd. And she said it's okay, and hugs him. So he's got that look on his face because he's hugged. And then he leaves, and she's got, he just wrestled, so she's got this nice dress on, or nice top. I don't think it was a dress, but anyway, all the sweat stains, right? So she acts like all repulsed, and it's like, you just hugged a 350-pound guy who had a wrestling match, and now you're mad because you got freaking sweat stains on your. What were you thinking? So anyway, that was that. Then the Revival does a promo, and they are wrestlers, not sports entertainers. And then Elias comes out and wrote a song, and it's like, it's best if you guys just went away, and that it was the start of the new Revival gimmick, which is more comedy oriented, fabulous ones. So anyway, wonderful. But I mean, everyone knows what it's about. The one thing is do you think it might backfire? Because I think it's going to backfire.
It always backfires.
Because, obviously they're trying to bury them to make them look like clowns before they leave. And I think that the fan base, whenever they do that, the fan base completely sees through it. And it only makes them, the best thing to do is take them off television. If you make them lose every week, people are going to go, they're going to be mad. You turn them into clowns, they're going to be even madder. Not madder, but they're going to see right through it, and just I think it makes the company look bad. I don't think it makes those guys look bad.
But if they're going to leave, they're turning down a lot of money to leave.
We don't know that, but there's.
They're trying to keep everybody, right?
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's probably $700 each. Maybe more. But yeah, maybe more. But yeah. Some people. It's a lot of money. I don't know what the offer would be on the other side, but but let's look at on the other way. They got I know Dawson definitely has family. I don't know about Wilder. I just don't know. But let's say you got a family, and you go to a company, and let's just say the offer is not as big, but you're offered. But number one, your peace of mind is better. You're going to get to do what you want. You're going to get the matches that you want. And with, in higher level positions with really good tag teams. And it's 1 day a week, which is, at their level, that extends your career on the other end. If you're doing, let's say you end up, 35 matches a year, maybe 40, whatever, instead of, 150, there's definite pluses of doing the lighter schedule. I mean, for the young guys, it's not as good because you're not getting the reps that you need. These guys don't need reps. These guys are already there. So, yeah.
Then, from a longevity perspective, you're probably lengthening
your career. So you're having more years. And let's just say WWE would burn them out in, let's say 5 years, late 30s, whatever. Okay, they're beat up and everything. These guys, they could probably get 8 or 9 years and more time with their kids and more years at the end, feeling a lot better. Although, obviously they're going to have to work really hard in those matches because the standard's going to be much higher. There's pluses and minuses. But, the happiness thing is, look, if I'm going to make $500,000 a year either way, I'd rather be really, really, really happy at work than making $500,000 a year and being really miserable when I can, or $700,000 a year and being really miserable, and more free time with my family I don't know. You know,
If you get into the wrestling business, though, and I'm not saying, I'm just generalizing. Like, I know that there's a lot of wrestlers who are really, really big time family guys, but that doesn't seem necessarily like the kind of work you would get into if your goal was to just be a family person.
Not at all.
Because you're gone so much.
You're gone, yeah, and that's the nature of the beast. But when you're in your 20s, being gone a lot is really cool. But if you got kids, it changes your mentality. And but the happiness is still the happiness. There's a lot of guys in WWE who were miserable. Look, when AEW started, everybody but Roman Reigns practically, called looking for work, but they didn't want everybody. Some of those people are quite bitter and, these days in another way, but that's
actually be a great question for Lance, because he was able to I guess he left early enough to where he was able to see his kids grow up, and now that they're grown up, he feels like he has the time to kind of go back.
Right, because his kids are grown up, so he can go back on the road. But he's not taking bumps.
Yeah.
He's traveling, and he's around a business that he really knows and likes, to be around. Because the reason he got out was to preserve his body. He was starting to, he had injuries, or he would probably still wrestled for several more years. And he still wrestled from time to time for years and years. So, yeah. I would think that, but with Lance, who knows? At that stage, he may have wanted to do AEW, because at that stage, your body working one day a week, and then if you're doing one show a week, sometimes two, and almost never two, but you're doing like one, let's say you're doing one show a week, it's like you're really not missing out on a lot with your kids. Now, if you're out there with 4 shows a week, and you got to travel the day before, and you got to travel the day after, that's 6 days, you're missing out on a lot with your kids. So, there's a lot of guys who would be not necessarily wanting to be in the business at that stage. AEW may be a way for them to stay in the business and maintain a family. So there's a good thing there too. Mm-hmm. Anyway, we can get back to this thing. What happened? So the Revival did the promo. Then Braun Strowman was in the back. Sami Zayn had to give him a gift, but he had no idea what to give him. So he asked Strowman what kind of a gift would he like, and Strowman wanted an Intercontinental title shot, so they're going back in that direction that they were going to do on the last pay-per-view, but Strowman was injured. And then it ends up where Strowman's getting mad at Sami Zayn, and then Cesaro and Nakamura come in, and Strowman wants an Intercontinental title match as a gift tonight, and Sami Zayn thinks that's a great idea, but he can't do it because Nakamura and Cesaro got a match with a New Day, so anyway, that's what they said. Carmella beat Sonya Deville with a cone of silence in 1:37. Just did it, fine. Sheamus, same interview he's been doing. New Day beat Nakamura and Cesaro. Real good match. And then at the end, Nakamura, Cesaro, and Sami Zayn are beating up New Day, and Braun Strowman makes the save, and basically is going to power slam Nakamura, but Sami Zayn saves Nakamura, and that's that. Then Miz and Daniel Bryan are talking, and Miz thanks Daniel Bryan because Bray Wyatt was about to smash his head with a mallet, and then Daniel Bryan goes, "Well, I didn't do that for you, I did it for me." And then they have this argument over who hates who more. I hate you more. No, I hate you more. I hate you more. Like one of those childish things. So they both hate each other, of course. And so, yeah, then they end up being a tag team, and there you go. Then Bayley beat Dana Brooke with the headlock DDT. Not bad. They're beating up Dana Brooke after. Lacey Evans makes the save. Lacey Evans challenges Sasha Banks to a singles match. So Lacey Evans, I don't know if you heard this, Lacey Evans' daughter and her husband are at ringside, and they point them out, which is also very interesting to show her husband. But the daughter, so this daughter it's one of two things, and one is really uncomfortable and the other is great. But the daughter's there, and right in front of the daughter, Sasha Banks is just beating on her at ringside in front of the daughter. And the daughter is ready to hop the rail, and she makes these freaking just the worst faces. Just
How old is she?
the daughter. I'm gonna say 8, 9 in that
Okay.
range. I could be off by a year or two. I mean, she's younger than she looked younger than my daughter, but I know, one of my friends with 8-year-old daughters, she probably looked the same or a year older than that. So yeah, I'd say 8, 9 in that range. But yeah, she was just furious, and I was thinking like, just hopefully like she knows that this is just a work, and they told her just make mean faces because she was great. But if they didn't, it's like that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
So anyway, they do a double count out. Fans hate the finish. Then we got Corbin and Ziggler against Daniel Bryan and The Miz. And it's fine. Miz puts the figure 4 on Ziggler. Daniel Bryan does the running knee to Corbin. Ziggler taps out. And they announce next week it's Miz, Corbin, and Bryan. 3-way. Winner gets Bray Wyatt, which will be at Rumble. And they're all in the ring, those three. And
Bray Wyatt or The Fiend?
The Fiend. Yeah. So they're all in the ring, and then you get the lightning, and Bray Wyatt's laughing at him, or the Fiend is laughing at him, and so there you go. So I've got to presume Daniel Bryan's going to win this match.
Yeah.
I mean, Miz, out Corbin doesn't make sense, and Miz just got squashed way too bad to do a rematch, so it's got to be. Although Daniel Bryan did get squashed too in his first match with him.
Yeah. I mean, if they're going to do the red lighting and everything, I would try to lose that match on purpose.
I know, really.
How were the ratings
For SmackDown?
SmackDown?
It was up. It was up from last week. The networks had a lot of reruns, so the competition wasn't nearly as tough. It was up it's about 2.4 million, roughly. The real number comes out on Monday, but, everything's, So, yeah, roughly 2.4 million.
What do you think of the SmackDown show?
This week's SmackDown show was, I don't know. It was a SmackDown show. I don't think there was anything that it was easy to watch. They had a great crowd in Detroit. That was impressive. But I mean, as far as
It took 3 tries to get our main event.
yeah, that's what it was. The whole show was built around that. Just getting that main event story to build around that, because they really didn't have much else. That and Otis and the Pie and Dolph Ziggler.
What's so
trying to hit
amazing
on
about
Mandy
this
Rose.
show? I didn't really dislike this show. In fact, there were some things on this show that I really liked. But I just watched this show, and there's so much stuff done to just get the time passed.
It's same old, same old.
Well, it's not even that. It's like we had to restart the main event 3 times on this show. Mm-hmm. It's like, this is only a 2-hour show. What's going on here?
They are trying to get the key guys, and I think that Daniel Bryan's one of them, and they believe that Corbin is one of them, and I guess they believe in Miz. They want to get them on as much as possible, thinking that they can carry the number, and the number was fine.
The number was fine. I'm just, as a viewer watching it seems like you've got a full roster. You've got a lot of wrestlers. It's only a 2-hour show. Is there a reason we have to do this main event 3 times? And they've done this before with other matches as well.
I just told you why. It's because they feel that those are the guys, when they're on TV, that will draw the most viewers, and they're trying to exploit as much as they can.
Well, my view as someone who's watched wrestling for a long time is, if you've got a brand, and for some reason you've got 3 people that you're having to build the show around in 3 different segments in 2 hours, you probably need to work on building some new stars.
That's the thing with SmackDown as compared to Raw and NXT, is that SmackDown, they're really not into building new stars as much. Like on Raw, but SmackDown numbers have stayed steady, and Raw numbers are not that good. But with Raw, I mean, I can see, and just the moves that they made this weekend and stuff.
They're trying to get people over.
Raw is all about trying to make new stars, and SmackDown is I don't see like a long term, but it's like they've got the New Day and Strowman. I don't know about the dancing Strowman thing. I don't know about that one.
I didn't know about it either, but the place went absolutely crazy for this guy dancing, so it didn't bother me.
It didn't bother me. It doesn't bother me at all, but I felt watching it. Okay, so for people who didn't watch it, New Day and Braun Strowman beat Nakamura and Cesaro and Sami Zayn with Strowman pinning Nakamura, which basically set up the Intercontinental Championship match. That's the direction they're going. And then afterwards, the New Day wanted Braun Strowman to not show his hands, but show his hips. And they egged him on, and they got him to dance, and he danced. And, it was fine, but I felt watching Strowman out there dancing, he felt like a mid-carder. But, I guess that's how he's positioned.
He sort of is a mid-carder. He
is a mid-carder, yeah. They're doing Reigns and Corbin Lose Reed's dog food matches, the house shows.
Yeah.
At least some of them. So that's nice. It feels again like they're starting to break up with Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, which, if that happens, I feel very sorry for Sonya Deville because I could just see her just, disappearing after the program's
Seems
over.
like they teased this months ago, and then they just
they were going to do it. They were going to do it before WrestleMania. They had the whole thing planned, and then they just dropped it. It's one of those things where, again, sometimes you do stuff, you break up a team. And not that they're a hot team, because they're really not. They're just there. If you break them up, it's whatever. It's not like, it's not like it's any big deal one way or the other. It's like, sometimes like with Rusev and Lana, if you remember, when they broke them up, there was like no plans on making it better. They just decided it was time to do it. With this one, it's like, if you do it or you don't do it, it's just a storyline. But I think it's going to be... I think that they will push Mandy Rose no matter what because of her look. And not that Sonya's, I'll get in trouble now about Sonya, right? But I think that with Sonya, it will be, I could see her.
Well, you shouldn't get in trouble because that's the exact storyline they tell on the show every single solitary week. That Mandy is the hottest woman in the world, and they never say that about Sonya.
Yeah, they don't say that. That's true. Sonya's just kind of, there. So Carmella beat Mandy. Sonya didn't come out because what was she doing? She didn't come out because Mandy didn't come out last week because Mandy had a new dress on with too much sweat on it. So Dolph Ziggler was trying to hit on Mandy because Mandy does not have a date for New Year's Eve at midnight. What does that say that she doesn't?
It strains credulity.
Maybe she's got like a really horrible personality. You don't know. We only see her on television. I know she's good looking, so it doesn't strain completely, but it's questionable, But Dolph's attempt to pick her up by throwing down that pie, it's like, man, that's some bad game there, and didn't he step on it too?
He stepped on it as well.
Man, that was a gift that she got from Otis. It's like, man, you trying to go out with this girl? It's like, if she goes out with him, I don't know about her taste.
Well, maybe that explains her not having a date.
What? How does that explain it?
Bad taste in men.
Well, then she would have a date if she had bad taste in men, because she would go out with bad dudes.
Well, maybe she is. Maybe she's going to go out with Dolph.
She's got bad taste in men. Yeah. She'd go out with Otis, right?
Day is January 1st. It's not even Friday. So we'll just get clips of the New Year's date?
I don't know what they're going to do. I cringe when I think about it, so I don't want to think about it either. So, yeah, we had that, and, the Miz and Daniel Bryan had a 2-minute match, and then everybody runs in for the DQ, and it's like, don't we have what's the word we're looking for? A precedent, obviously, that if that's the case, then Bray Wyatt should be wrestling both of them, as opposed to none of them, right? But instead, we had to redo it later.
No. Bray Wyatt would have had to interfere to prevent one of them from facing him.
But
that would lead to both of them.
But still, whenever you have a double DQ, you end up with both of them in there.
Only if it makes sense.
Yeah. And then Lacey Evans. So it was Bayley and Sasha against Lacey Evans and Dana Brooke. And, Lacey Evans is a mother cub, right? Or a mother bear. She's a bear, protecting her cub. And because of Sasha Banks taunting her daughter. And there you go. So we're still building that Bayley and Lacey Evans championship program.
I was flabbergasted when I watched that match, and I thought, well, Lacey will pin Bayley. And then Sasha just taps out Dana Brooke after a roll-up. Dana was the biggest geek in this match. It's like every single week they give her this big push and beat her. It's like, why bother?
They just to fill television time.
Well, give her a win somewhere so she has a little credibility.
Yeah, you could do that.
I mean, can we try filling TV time with winners? I mean, how are we supposed to get behind Dana Brooke? She gets beaten and humiliated on every single show.
I don't have an answer to that, but that's what you have enhancement talent for, and Dana Brooke is enhancement talent. So she's there to when they need if they needed a heel, and Dana Brooke may get a win now, because they do 50-50 booking. It won't mean anything too much, but it's not, she's not the one there being pushed. Lacey Evans is the one that they're behind. Dana's just there to lose when they need a loss. And if they need to win, then, then they'll take the win. I'm sure that Lacey Evans is going to be pinning Bayley at some point, in one of these tag matches. I thought it was going to be this week, but I guess that, they got enough weeks before the Rumble that, it doesn't have to be this week. Now watch them go and run at a time, because they didn't time the angle right, which wouldn't be the first time that happens. And then, but again, it's the Rumble. You don't need that match. Once they time that show out, you got freaking 2 hours taken by those two Rumble matches alone. Actually, more than 2, a little over 2 hours probably. So that doesn't leave like a lot of time for, we already know that Brock Lesnar is going to have a match. We already know that Bray Wyatt and Daniel Bryan are going to have a match. Probably Nakamura and Strowman. Who else is on the card? Asuka and Becky Lynch is for sure on that card. So do we? We don't necessarily need Bayley and Lacey Evans on that card. Although it's obviously was when it was pulled from the last card, the idea was for it to be on this card. So, but again, you know how Vince operates. It's like until it happens, it hasn't happened, and you can change his mind until the very last minute.
And then Daniel Bryan ended up winning the main event, beat The Miz, so he's going on to face The Fiend at the Royal Rumble.
Man, it's going to be a great test of Daniel Bryan's intellect. Luckily, he's a genius, which he is, by the way. And we'll see how he's really, really smart. He's going to figure out a way to convince Vince to get rid of that red shit.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, if he's really smart.
We'll find out how smart he is.
And Bray too, that would be the big thing is it's to like convince Vince it was his idea. That's the thing those two dudes got to do before that match. The one thing is that Daniel Bryan at the last pay-per-view did have a good match with Bray Wyatt with every handicap in the world. He still had a good match with him. So he is the one. Seth Rollins couldn't do it. The Miz sure as hell couldn't do it. Daniel Bryan was able to do it. So you can't say, oh, it's going to suck, because every other Bray Wyatt match has been so. I don't want to say the matches have been bad, because like the Seth Rollins match, for what they did, it really wasn't bad at all. It was different, obviously because of the portrayal of Bray. It's not a standard wrestling match. It was different, but the settings, it was hard for the crowd. And then also with the Bray Wyatt character, that's a tough match to work because he's not going to sell a lot. Especially if you go time, if you give it time, like you could do it in 6 minutes, no problem. If they didn't have that red shit and they did 6 minutes, you could have a great 6 minutes with that character. But when you get it out to 20 and he's no-selling all this crazy stuff, and it gets very tedious to do that kind of a match for a long period of time. I think so. I don't know. I don't know why they insist on making it hard for a main event to work. I mean, that's short. Isn't that like the opposite of the goal? The goal should be to like do everything you can to make the main event work. And they're out there like literally making it like the biggest handicap on the talent in the world for the world title match to get over with the crowd. It's like, that's not wrestling. That's like stupid wrestling. That's not smart wrestling.